This isn't just a break-in, it's a betrayal that shattered everything. In one moment, King Harris was in his own home, shaken by fear, and in the next, the truth began to unfold. His enemies weren't outside, they were already inside. The people he trusted the most were the ones behind it all. But the real question is, was this even a break-in at all, or a carefully planned setup? And when the truth finally surfaced, the most dangerous name wasn't who anyone expected. It happened in seconds, so fast that people who later watched the leaked footage said it didn't even feel real, like their brains couldn't catch up to what their eyes were seeing. 1 second everything was normal, and the next, everything had shifted. Just moments before, King Harris was online, moving like nothing in the world could touch him. Laughing, posting, talking big, flexing like he was untouchable. The energy was loud, confident, almost reckless. The kind of confidence that comes from growing up surrounded by fame, cameras, and protection. But then something changed. And you can hear it before you even fully understand it. His voice. It drops. The tone shifts. The confidence disappears. Now he's pacing through his own house, whispering instead of shouting, his words coming out uneven, shaky. There's something in his voice that fans had never heard before. Not anger, not ego, fear. Real fear. The kind you can't fake. The lights around him start flickering. Not dramatically, not like a movie, just enough to feel wrong. The alarms, glitching. Not blaring, not fully triggered, just malfunctioning in a way that makes everything feel unstable. And then there's a sound. Something subtle. Something moving. Too quiet to be obvious, but too close to ignore. That's when it hits him. He's not alone. And the moment that realization lands, everything changes. Bro, please call me back. Somebody in here, I need help. Now. Those words spread across the internet like wildfire, not because of who said them, but because of how they were said. There was no performance in his voice. No exaggeration, no attempt to entertain. Just panic. Raw, immediate, unfiltered. And that's what made people stop. Because King wasn't trolling, he wasn't chasing views, he wasn't playing a role. He was scared. And when the deeper story started coming out, that fear began to make a lot more sense. Because this wasn't random. It wasn't some careless break-in. It wasn't kids messing around. It wasn't even a typical robbery. It felt targeted, calculated, like a message. Whispers started circulating online, connecting the situation to people allegedly tied to dangerous circles, individuals known for one thing. They don't joke, they don't bluff, and they don't forget disrespect. And suddenly, the narrative shifted. This wasn't just about someone getting into a house. This was about why. What they left behind only made things worse. According to insiders, the object placed inside King's home wasn't random. It wasn't chaotic. It was deliberate. A warning, but not just that. A promise. Something meant to say, this isn't over. And if that wasn't unsettling enough, another detail pushed the story into something much darker. Security footage suggested there was no forced entry. No broken doors. No smashed windows. Nothing, which led to one chilling possibility. They didn't break in. They were let in. By someone close. That single detail flipped the entire story on its head, because now the danger wasn't just outside. It was inside his circle. And once that idea took hold, people started looking at everything differently. Because long before that night, before the whispers, before the flickering lights, before the panic, there had already been signs. Quiet ones. Easy to ignore. For months, King had been building an image of himself online. Bold, loud, fearless. To his fans, it was entertaining. To critics, it was reckless. And to certain people watching from a distance, it looked like someone who didn't understand the world he was stepping into. Because King grew up in a completely different reality. Fame, studios, cameras, security, it was all normal to him. Chaos wasn't danger, it was just part of the environment. But that kind of upbringing creates a blind spot. It makes you believe everything is surface level. That conflicts live online. That words don't have real-world consequences. That being loud equals being powerful. But the people he was unknowingly provoking, they didn't come from that world. They didn't see things as entertainment. And they definitely didn't see disrespect as something to laugh off. At first, the tension was small. A comment here, a subliminal jab there, a viral clip of King calling older figures outdated, washed, irrelevant. To most people, it was just social media noise. But not everyone sees it that way. Because some people don't ignore disrespect. They remember it. And according to whispers from insiders, the first warning didn't come loudly. It came quietly. Why? A car parked outside his place for too long. Anonymous messages telling him to slow down. A stranger passing by, dropping a line that felt casual, but wasn't. Be careful who you talk about, little bro. At the time, King brushed it off. Because in his mind, fear meant weakness. And he wasn't trying to look weak. But what he didn't realize was that he had already stepped into a situation where his father's fame couldn't protect him. And where attention wasn't just attention anymore. It was surveillance. But his biggest mistake, it wasn't what he said. It was who he trusted. Because while he was trying to prove independence, trying to show the world he was his own man, the people around him weren't built for the pressure that came with that image. Some were there for clout, some for money, some just to feel important being close to a celebrity. But none of them were prepared for real consequences. None of them were ready for real danger. And one of them was already in trouble. Desperate, owing money to the wrong people, looking for a way out. And that's where everything starts to connect. Because what King didn't see coming was that the danger wasn't just watching him. It was already standing next to him. They didn't do it to hurt him, at least not yet. That's what makes it even colder. The people behind it weren't rushing, weren't emotional, weren't reckless. Everything about the move felt controlled, measured, like they weren't trying to destroy King Harris, they were trying to send a message. A warning, a reminder, a lesson. They wanted to humble him, silence him, make him understand that the world he thought he was playing in wasn't a game at all. But what they left behind that night, that wasn't just a lesson. That was a promise that next time wouldn't look the same. And the most unsettling part, King didn't even know why he had been targeted. Not fully, because the truth wasn't what the internet thought. It wasn't just about disrespect. It wasn't about clout or ego or viral moments. The real reason had been sitting right beside him the entire time. Smiling, talking, moving like someone loyal, someone he trusted, someone who pretended to protect him, while quietly setting everything in motion behind the scenes. And the truth didn't come out all at once. It came in pieces, small pieces, sharp ones, the kind that don't just reveal the truth, they cut you while you're putting them together. Because what the world saw that night, that was just the surface. A young man pacing through a dark house, whispering into his phone, hands shaking, voice cracking under pressure. But what he experienced in those moments, what he discovered afterward, what he realized about the people around him, that was something much darker. Because the break-in itself, that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was what led up to it. Who allowed it? why it happened. And when those answers started lining up, the picture that formed didn't just feel shocking. It felt impossible. It started with a sound, just a small one, a faint creak from somewhere in the back of the house. At first, King tried to ignore it, tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was the AC shifting. Maybe it was the house settling. Maybe it was nothing. But then it came again. Louder, closer, too precise to be random. That's when everything inside him shifted. Mid-conversation, his voice paused. "Yo, wait, somebody in here." And just like that, the confidence disappeared completely. There was no toughness left in his tone, no aggression, no bravado. Just confusion. Then fear. Then something deeper than fear, realization. He started moving slowly, carefully, stepping toward the kitchen, holding his phone up like it was something that could protect him. Like it could do anything at all. Above him, the light flickered again, buzzing faintly, like the house itself was reacting to something unseen. And then, another sound. Closer now. A shadow shifting near the hallway. "Bro, call me, I ain't playing." That line changed everything. Because in that moment, the internet stopped questioning. This wasn't staged. This wasn't content. This wasn't someone chasing attention. This was real. The fear in his voice wasn't something you could rehearse. It was instinct. And within minutes, the audio spread everywhere. Group chats, fan pages, forums, everyone replaying the same clip over and over, trying to understand what could push someone like King into that state. But what people didn't realize was that they were only hearing the symptoms, not the cause. Because behind the scenes, there was something much bigger unfolding. Something far more calculated. When investigators, or at least the version of events that later circulated, started looking into the situation, one detail stood out immediately. There was no forced entry, no broken locks, no damaged doors, no signs of struggle. The door had been opened. Clean, simple, unlocked. And that didn't make sense, because King was known for being paranoid about security. He double-checked everything. Locks, cameras, alarms, sensors. His house wasn't easy to access. At least it wasn't supposed to be. So how did someone get in that easily? That question didn't sit right with anyone. But then came the footage. Earlier that day, 3:17 p.m. The same door had been opened briefly. Not wide, not long, just enough. Just enough to disengage the lock. And whoever did it, they didn't hesitate. They didn't look around nervously. They moved like they belonged there. Like they had been there before. Like they knew exactly what they were doing. At first, King thought it might have been someone he knew. A friend. Someone who had stopped by earlier. But when investigators compared the height, the movement, he shook his head. That's not him. And that's when things took a turn. Because the person in that footage wasn't just unexpected. It was someone he barely even dealt with. A cousin. Someone distant. Someone the family had warned him about before. Someone with a reputation. And more importantly, someone with problems. Serious ones. Money problems. The kind that don't go away on their own. The kind that pull you into situations you can't control. But the story didn't stop there. Because that cousin, he didn't show up alone. Hours before the break-in, another piece of footage surfaced, this time from outside. A car, tinted windows, parked just long enough to matter. The cousin steps out, but he's not driving. And the person behind the wheel, someone connected, not directly to anything public, but to circles people don't take lightly. And suddenly, everything starts making sense. This wasn't random. This wasn't just retaliation. This wasn't even just a warning. This was a transaction, a deal. The cousin owed money, money he couldn't pay back. And instead of cash, he offered access to King Harris, not to harm him, not immediately, but to scare him, to send a message, to remind him that words have weight. Because in that world, disrespect doesn't disappear. It gets answered. But King didn't know any of that in the moment. All he knew was that someone was inside his house. Someone who didn't belong there. Someone moving like they had nothing to fear. And when he finally stepped into the living room, that's when it hit him. The object on the table, placed perfectly, deliberately, a bullet and a printed screenshot. Not random, not messy, precise, targeted. And in that moment, something inside him broke. Not because of the danger, but because of what it meant. Yo, how they get in, how they know I'm home. The question wasn't just fear anymore. It was realization. Because there's only one way something like that happens. Someone told them. Someone close. Someone he trusted. Someone who had been around him, smiling, talking, pretending everything was normal. And when he finally told his father what happened, he expected shock, anger, panic, but that's not what he got. Instead, calm, cold calm. I knew it was coming. That response stopped him. What do you mean you knew? And that's when the real truth started to surface. I've been telling you, the people you keep around ain't your friends. That was the moment everything shifted again. Because this wasn't just a break-in anymore. This was betrayal. And not just from one person. Because while the cousin opened the door, someone else made sure the house was vulnerable. Someone who knew the system, the Wi-Fi, the cameras, the security setup. Someone who didn't just give access. They made it possible. A second mole, closer than anyone expected. And just like that, the story went from a warning to something much deeper, something far more dangerous. Because now the question wasn't who got in. It was, how many people helped them do it? Someone inside King's daily life had done more than just unlock a door. They had mapped his world, studied his habits, and quietly built the perfect setup from the inside out. This wasn't random. This wasn't sloppy. This was precision. The kind of precision that only comes from someone who knows exactly how you live, how you think, and when you're most vulnerable. And when that truth started to surface, everything changed. Because what looked like a break-in was about to turn into something much bigger, something far more dangerous. The hours after it happened didn't feel real to King. He walked through his own house like a stranger. The walls were the same. The furniture hadn't moved. Nothing was broken, but everything felt wrong. The air was heavier. The silence wasn't quiet anymore. It was loud, suffocating, like it was hiding something. Every shadow felt deeper. Every corner felt occupied. Even after the intruders were gone, even after security swept the house, even after the doors were locked again, King couldn't shake the feeling that he wasn't alone. Like whoever had been inside never really left. But the real nightmare didn't start until Investigator S began pulling at the threads. Because once they did, a pattern emerged, and it was terrifying. Nothing about this was accidental. Every move the intruders made, every second they spent inside that house, every system that failed at just the right time, it all pointed to one conclusion. They didn't guess their way in. They were guided. It was like someone had handed them a blueprint to King's entire life. So the detective asked a simple question. Who knows your schedule better than anyone? King answered without thinking. My team, my friends, my family. That's what made sense. But the detective didn't react. He just leaned forward slightly, voice dropping lower. No, who knows your habits, your routines, your blind spots, your Wi-Fi access, your camera system, your entrances. That's when it hit. Not like a realization. Like a drop. Heavy, sudden, unavoidable. Because there was only one person who had all of that. Not just pieces of it, not just access. Everything. And it was Dree. It wasn't the cousin. It wasn't even someone King had ever questioned. It was someone he trusted completely. Someone who had been in his house countless times. Someone who had access to his devices, his passwords, his security systems. Someone who didn't just exist in his life, but operated inside it. Switching. A name that suddenly didn't feel so casual anymore. Switch wasn't family. He wasn't a childhood friend. He wasn't even someone King had personally chosen in the beginning. He just appeared over time. Helping, fixing things, being useful. He handled Wi-Fi issues, reset systems, adjusted cameras, knew the layout better than the people paid to protect it. He knew where the weak points were. He knew where the blind spots were. And most importantly, he knew how to turn everything off. To King, Switch looked like loyalty. To everyone else, he looked like support. But to the people who broke into that house, he looked like the perfect inside connection. Still, King didn't want to believe it. He couldn't. Not Switch. Not the guy who had been there through everything. Through chaos, through success, through moments nobody else saw. There's a difference between suspecting someone and accepting it. And King wasn't ready to accept it until the evidence started stacking up. A technician digging through system logs found something chilling. 2 hours before the break-in, the security system wasn't hacked. It wasn't bypassed. It was manually disabled. From inside the network. That required the password. And only 2 people had it. King and Switch. Then came the keycard data. Time-stamped. Undeniable. Switch had entered the property earlier that day. At the exact same time, the cousin had accessed the back door. Not before. Not after. At the same time. They weren't separate pieces of the puzzle. They were working together. When King heard that, something inside him cracked. His voice broke. Switch wouldn't do that. But this wasn't speculation anymore. It was data. Logs, timestamps, system failures lining up perfectly with Switch's presence. And then came the final detail. The one that removed any doubt. Switch's phone had been turned off during the entire break-in. Not on silent. Not dead. Off. Completely untraceable. And nobody does that unless they don't want to be found. That's when reality hit. Hard. This wasn't just betrayal. This was planning. Cold, calculated, intentional. And it went deeper than King had ever imagined. Because even after he left the house, even after security locked everything down, investigators kept searching. And that's when they found it. Not in plain sight. Not where anyone would look. Hidden. Taped underneath his bedroom dresser. A small folded piece of paper. Inside it, just one sentence. He's closer than you think. That line changed everything. Because now it wasn't just Switch. It wasn't just the cousin. There was another person. Someone still inside King's circle. Someone still around him. Watching, listening, pretending. And that realization was more terrifying than the break-in itself. Because how do you defend yourself when you don't even know who the threat is? The message hit harder than anything else. Not because of what it said, but because of what it implied. Someone had been in his room. Someone knew where to place that note. Someone knew his personal space well enough to hide something where only he would eventually find it. That's not access. That's intimacy. And when that detail leaked, the internet exploded. People started analyzing everything. Who had been in King's house recently? Who had been posting from inside? Who had worn his clothes, touched his things, moved freely in his space? Fans turned into investigators overnight. Every video, every photo, every story. Nothing was overlooked. But before anyone could land on a solid answer, another piece of evidence surfaced. A doorbell camera from across the street. Grainy audio. Barely clear, but clear enough. Two voices. One asked, "D, you sure the kid's alone?" The other replied, "Yeah, his own people confirmed it. He's soft tonight." His own people. Not one. Not two. Plural. Meaning this wasn't a small betrayal. This was layered, coordinated, deeper. And for the first time in his life, King understood something he had never truly felt before. He wasn't safe, not because of strangers, but because of the people closest to him. Not in public, not online, not even inside his own home. Because when the threat is already inside your circle, there is nowhere left to hide. And that realization, that's what broke him more than anything else. A message from an unknown number lit up King's phone. No warning, no threats, no words at all. Just a picture. At first, it didn't even register. It looked ordinary, 3 people sitting inside a car, shadows cutting across their faces, tinted windows dimming the details. But then his eyes adjusted, and everything inside him stopped. Switch was there. The cousin was there. And sitting right beside them was someone King recognized instantly. Not just recognized, trusted. Someone he had defended publicly. Someone he had stood up for in arguments, even against his own father. Someone who had looked him in the eyes and said, "Bro, I got you. You safe with me." Milo. For a second, King didn't move. His brain refused to process it, like it was a glitch, like reality itself had made a mistake. Then he saw the timestamp. 1 hour before the break-in. That's when the phone slipped from his hand. Not dramatically, not like in the movies. Just gone. His grip loosened, and it dropped as if his body no longer had the strength to hold onto anything. Because in that moment, everything collapsed. This wasn't just involvement. This wasn't coincidence. Milo wasn't on the sidelines. He was at the center of it all. The one coordinating. The one orchestrating. The one pulling every invisible string. He was the one who knew King's schedule because King told him. The one who knew plans were canceled because King trusted him with that information. The one who confirmed he was alone. The one who told Switch when to disable the cameras. The one who told the cousin exactly which door to unlock. Every question had the same answer. Every path led back to one person. Milo. And the worst part, King never saw it coming. But what truly shattered the internet wasn't just the betrayal. It was the reason behind it. Because when that piece finally surfaced, everything changed. Milo didn't do it for money. He wasn't being blackmailed. He wasn't chasing clout. He did it for something far more dangerous: revenge. And the moment his name leaked, the internet exploded. Not slowly, not in waves, instantly, like gasoline hitting fire. Fans flooded every platform at once, confused, angry, shocked, trying to piece together something that didn't make sense. How did Milo set him up? That was his boy. Nah, this is sick. He was in every video, every live. This ain't just beef, this is personal. This might be the craziest betrayal we've ever seen. The reactions weren't just emotional, they were obsessive. People weren't scrolling anymore. They were studying, analyzing, replaying everything they thought they knew. And it didn't stop with fans. The industry started speaking. Quiet at first, then louder. An Atlanta rapper posted, "Your biggest op be the ones eating at your table. Wake up." A producer dropped a message that felt even colder. "Watch the ones closest to you. Betrayal don't come from strangers." No names, no direct accusations, but everyone understood exactly who they were talking about: Milo. But then something unexpected happened. A different narrative started forming. Small at first, then louder. A group of people began defending Milo. Not excusing him, but explaining him. Milo didn't just snap, something had to happen. There's always a reason friends turn into enemies. Too many people switching up on King, something off about that. And just like that, the spotlight shifted. Not away from Milo, but onto King. Old clips started resurfacing. Videos people had ignored before suddenly looked different. Moments where King raised his voice. Moments where he joked too hard. Moments where he talked down to people around him. Fans started stitching clips together, creating timelines, building narratives. Bro been disrespecting his own circle for months. The signs were there. This didn't come out of nowhere. Meanwhile, TikTok detectives went into overdrive. They slowed down the leaked photo frame by frame. Enhanced shadows, matched clothing, compared angles. They traced Milo's outfit back to older posts, matched the car interior to pictures from months ago. Every detail confirmed the same thing. This wasn't fake. This wasn't staged. This was real. And every new discovery made it worse, because it proved how deep it went. Then came the reactions from people who understood the lifestyle better than anyone. Celebrity kids. People raised in the same world as King. One wrote, "This life is dangerous when you trust the wrong people. Fame don't protect you." Another posted, "Nobody talks about how lonely this gets." And that hit differently, because behind all the drama, there was something real. Isolation, pressure, trust placed in the wrong hands. But the moment that shook everything came next. Because one person hadn't spoken yet. One person everyone was waiting on. T.I. And when he finally did, it wasn't what anyone expected. No rant, no explanation, no names, just an image. A wolf surrounded by sheep. Captioned, "Some of y'all ain't who you pretend to be." That was it. And somehow that said everything. The internet lost control. People started dissecting the post like it was evidence.